Hi, everybody. Hello, ET Let's Talk community. I'm Costa Macris, and I want to welcome you to a really special program that we have today with Samoiya Shelley Yates, who has a wonderful story and a wonderful project called Fire the Grid 2 to share with everyone. I invite all of you to watch this and also to share this with others. There is a time deadline on this event, and it's very short. So the quicker that all of you who resonate with this and enjoy this and want people in your orbit to learn about Fire the Grid 2, please spread it all over social media, all over your networks, and you won't be sorry. This is an amazing, powerful global event that will help people and the planet and her life forms. And I am very honored to welcome Samoiya Shelley Yates, also known as Shelley, who will tell us her story and give us more information about herself, how this happened, why it's important, and what all of you can do to join in, because this is a group participation thing on a global level, and it's a powerful thing. And again, I'm very honored that we have Shelley with us. So having said that, I'll let Shelley say hello.
Hello. Hi. These things are so weird for me. When I did Fire the Grid the last time, we had none of this. There was no social media, and we certainly didn't talk into boxes. So it's I'm so glad your face is there. I find it very weird. Yes. I find it very weird to talk into the boxes, but I will do my very best to give you a ton of information in a reasonable amount of time. I am not the type of person that would ever watch this show, much less be on it. You know, my life was never about anything cosmic or universal. I grew up in a small island in Canada, Newfoundland. You know, we were very salt of the earth type of people. We certainly didn't speak about otherworldly beings or extraterrestrials or bodies and suits, you know, the types of conversations that I'm sure, Costa, you've had tons of in your radio career. But we didn't talk about those things. So the day I had the worst accident of my life, you know, I didn't have anywhere to fall back on. I didn't even have God, because I was a diehard atheist. I used to say I had the power of one, all right, and you're looking at her. So, you know, that was about as esoteric as I got at that point in my life. Anyway, this accident has probably been spread all over the internet, and at some point I'll probably put it together in some sort of, so you can just watch it. But the short version of the story is I hydroplaned into a flooded marsh, and my 4-year-old son was with me. And as the car started to sink to the bottom of the marsh, the water started to fill up in the car, and well, ultimately we died. So I know I'm rushing through my story now, and I'm going to miss all the good parts. But at one point in the drowning incident, this booming voice was in my ears, and it was going, relax, 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 and it was wanting me to give myself over to surrender to the water, but I couldn't, you know. And my reaction to somebody booming relax at me was, I didn't take orders when I was living. I am certainly not taking them when I'm dying. So, you know, talk about the mouthy one, you know, so this is kind of where it started for me, this communication with this other world. Like, okay, my mind goes to immediately, oh, I'm drowning, I'm dying, this must be what it is to die. So anyway, the voice came to me again, and they said that everything had been put in place for me to save myself and my son, and that I needed to surrender and allow myself to pass into the next world, and that they would help me. So at that point, I had nothing to fight anymore. Why bother? You know, let's just go then. And as I said, give yourself over to absolute pleasure. My body was taken out. My essence, my energy body was taken out of my physical body to the top of my head. Now, since that happened in those days, things are different for me now, because now I understand that that is a totally different exit for a soul being to get out of the body. It's not how we normally go home. And I was taken because they wanted to teach me something. They wanted to show me something. They wanted me to understand that this human vessel that we're living in, you have one called Costa, I have one called Shelley, Celia has one. So we each get one. It's our vessel, it's our suit, it's our Lamborghini, you know, if you treat it like it should be treated. But inside of it is a light being. It is the eternal, forever, all-encompassing piece of the God. And I call it the God, meaning the giver of directions, the pure essence of who we really are. So I used to be able to tell this story and not go off like this, but all I really truly want to do is tell the people what I know. And that's the first thing I want you to know, is that inside of your body, inside of your vessel, lives this omnipotent, beautiful being of pure light. It remembers everything. We are forever in it. So I'm talking to these beings while I'm dying and drowning. And then I get to go and talk to them some more in kind of what appears to be like a rectangular shaped room with no walls, but everything is everywhere. You know everything all at the same time. It truly is what it is to be plugged in to any of these beings, if you have any communication with them. So I'm in this room and they're explaining to me about life and how to fix my son, and the fact that we're going to do an energy transfer on his body. Now, you got to remember, I told you I was somebody from an island community in Canada. You know, this is supernatural. This is an episode of Stephen King or Steven Spielberg or something, not of my life. So we get out of the whole circumstances. I'm underwater for over 15 minutes. My son is underwater for 35, 40 plus minutes. We have to get a boom truck. It's a pretty incredible story in itself. I always joke that it's a 9-season Netflix all by itself. So anyway, we fast forward through the most amazing, miraculous recovery, because these beings start to come to me in the hospital. Now, I've got doctors on one side of me from a major Canadian hospital telling me, your son is dead, there's no brain activity, all of his organs are filled with blood and water. Like, we only kept him alive long enough for you to come and say goodbye. That's basically it. We've done MRIs and CAT scans. There's no activity. This kid is gone. And at that moment, I can't believe what I'm hearing, because I shouldn't be up moving around. I was gone. So I go out in the hallway and all of a sudden I'm like, why have you forsaken me? Which is the strangest thing for me to say, because it's not in my vocabulary. But all of a sudden the room fills up with the same energy that it did in the car. And it was something's here, something's right here. And it is right here with us all the time. And it was right there in the hallway. And it was like a download of information. You're an energy being. We're going to teach you how to jumpstart that energy suit. We're going to teach you how to get that boy back and into his suit and re-plugged into his body. So what are your options at that point? You either come out and you say, look, I'm crazy. I'm going to listen to some sort of energy being. Or you say, well, I have, just unplug him, because that was my options. So anyway, I didn't unplug him, and I wrestled with the doctors over the next 3 days, because they continued to want to unplug him. And the more they wanted to unplug him, the more these beings came with more information and more information, which is all right now what I want to share with the people the most, is this information from these beings. Ultimately, we were home in 3.5 weeks from start to finish. The kid was underwater 40 plus minutes. He went through 3 days in intensive care in a coma, and then he had a miraculous recovery. spontaneous regeneration of his body. Everything the being said would happen, happened. Wow, what a story. But the story didn't end there, and I could fill in the cracks for 3 hours of conversation, which is the only thing I really like to talk about, to tell you the truth. I really, this is it. But anyway, fast forward to July. So, I've been able to adjust to these beings being around me. And I've got to tell you, it's pretty odd to start to communicate with something from another dimensional world. I certainly didn't know that there was an ET community. I didn't know any of these things. And I know I was directed by many well-meaning, loving people to find church. Church will help you. Church will help you. But as it turns out, church didn't help me, because what I've been taught for us to understand is that it's so much more than what we have defined in these nice, neat little boxes. This supernatural world is incredible, but it doesn't fit in any nice, neat little box. And it takes a great deal of personal integrity and strength to open yourself to hear this truth. And this truth is what is so important to fire the grid. And that's so in July of the following year after the accident, the communication started with these beings all the time. They were very careful to tell me, to tell you, the people, you discern what we are for you, because we are in everything. That means if you need us to be angels, we're angels, because we're in the angel world. These are little cells of light. They're a photon of light from a pool of light that I call the brilliant infinity. That's what we are. We're just little photons of light from that pool of light. But each one of us has a photon of light, including the angels, including the extraterrestrials, including the otherworldlies, because it's not just one or the other. So in the beginning of Fire the Grid, this was part of the story, that they wanted you to discern what they were. Yes, we're light beings. But to me, I've seen them in several forms now. But what does a light being mean to you? Because it's your journey as the interpreter of this story. So Fire the Grid was born from the same medicine, the same energy that brought my son back. They said, what you did for a dying boy with a small group of people, you can do for a dying planet with a large group. So what they wanted us to do was use the energy being that is in us. Now, remember, I told you that energy being umpteen billion trillion megawatts of energy, itty bitty living space. That's us. But what we did for Evan was lay our hands on him. There's an energy portal in both hands. When you put them down on the body, you hook up what looks like the same way you would have from in your arm, when you give blood that way. This is an energy transfusion, and it hooks you up through the body by putting both hands on. So what they wanted us to do was to literally pulse the energy grid that lives around the planet. Now, this is not 2007. I don't normally have to tell people what an energy grid is anymore. But back in 2007, nobody knew. It was very early days where people were discussing the energy grid and how we contributed to the energy grid. We are part of it. Our photon, the photon that makes us who we are, is attached to that energy grid. And you're either constantly giving to that grid or you're taking from it. And when you're taking from it, it depletes everything. And we can be so much more, so easily, by pulsing the energy grid. So I've probably lost all your listeners now going, what is she talking about?
No, in fact, you anticipated the first question I had, or the first request, which was, tell us your origin story. What got you started on this Fire the Grid path? And you, thankfully, and thank you, just told us the remarkable events that transpired, from what started out as a horrific accident, and really now has turned into an opportunity for all of us to heal this planet. And I know that that's kind of a grand sweep, but I think that's kind of what you really are about there, Shelley, is from your personal experience of having your son basically rejuvenated, you are now able to carry forward this Fire the Grid and Fire the Grid 2 project to helping regenerate the whole planet. So, like I said, that's quite the cosmic path. But that's what I think that's what we're all called to do. My guess is that you would probably tell members of my community and other communities that are listening to this that what happened to you can happen to anybody. We all have, as you were saying, though, that power within us, and so why not use it now? This event coming up is our opportunity to put our energy where our mouth is,
Yeah,
so to speak,
yeah,
and heal this world. I think the people that are watching this are people who resonate with the fact that these are dire circumstances we're in. However, these are also very hopeful and powerful circumstances to heal and transform this planet. And that's why we're talking with everyone today. And that's why we're talking with you, Shelley. So the next thing I would like to ask you is tell us about, if you want to include the original Fire the Grid that started and what happened with that, and then move into the Fire the Grid 2, what we want to do, what you want to do, what we all want to do in actually a couple of weeks, then
yeah.
do that too. Yes, just inform us.
Well, the beings showed up recently, very recently, and gave me the project. And I was like, this is not very long. This is not very much notice. And they were like, you don't understand the power of the internet. And they were right, because I don't. I'm very naive as to this machine and how it works. But these beings want to help us. They're ever since they've ever shown up, they've always said, we want to ease your way. We want to ease your way. So what do they mean when they say you want to ease your way? Well, I'll talk about Fire the Grid 1 in a minute, but basically that energy being that I was talking about living inside of us, we want to get the frequency of the body high enough that when the opportunity is made available to us, the two frequencies are moving at the same rate so that they can move through each other. There's some sense of fitting through, um, the two pieces molding through. Like I can only tell, like I don't try to interpret to the world what I've been shown. So basically, we're coming to the end of a time, and that this time is the first time humanity will consciously choose its direction. Every time up till now, we have constantly been put in the circumstances of having the choices made for us. So they talked about the fact that the reason you'll never find the missing link between Homo erectus and Homo sapien is because there was a quantum leap. But we didn't partake in the quantum leap. It was done to us. We had reached a critical mass and it was done and we were changed. This time, humanity has been given an opportunity for the same type of quantum leap. So we're going to move from Homo sapiens into Homo illuminus. We're still going to have bodies. We're still going to eat because these things are going to be joyful to us. This whole body is built for pleasure. Every single centimeter of the flesh on your body, your hair, your fingernails, every part of you is built for pleasure and joy. And as we move into this new time, we're going to explode into that, because we're not going to have to worry about stuff like, has everybody else been taken care of? Because as we make this final shift into this high frequency, only light can exist in there. Now, that's the jump out, stick in the middle part to Fire the Grid. So Fire the Grid happened back, the accident happened in 2002. And it took me from 2002 to 2005 to figure out I was talking to something. I was talking to some group of beings. There was a ship involved. There was a large table, a boomerang shaped table. There were the council. Council of Light. I knew none of these things. I had no internet world. We didn't have YouTube, you know. I was like, sure, when will that happen? 6 months from next Friday. And he goes, oh no, tonight. So the minute I started saying yes to the project, it started happening. So we didn't have social media, but we reached millions and millions and millions of people. You know, we didn't have any way of reaching millions of people. So we used email, and we use the old fashioned way of getting to somebody, saying, when, you know, this resonates with you, if you feel touched by this, share it with somebody that you love. And that's where we are again right now. So the first Fire the Grid project was executed. Emoto got involved. There's a section on the internet, I don't know if it's still up. Princeton University got involved. They said that there was a huge flux in the energy body and it never went back. You know, there was all these really cool things happening that I never got finished to tell the world. So these are just stories that I can tell, but essentially Fire the Grid worked. The same way they gave me the instructions to save my son, it worked. They gave me the instructions to do this world project. Holy shit, it worked. And it didn't work a little bit, it worked incredibly. So I really, you know, I've had communication with them since that, but they've never had this adamant, it's time, we got to do it. COVID changed something here. COVID changed something here energetically. They want to do this now. I think it was planned for later. I think that I was supposed to have more time, but I don't. So something happened energetically on the planet, and they have put a rush. And costed, you know what? In 17 years, they've never rushed, but they've rushed. And they've said, tell as many people as you can, you know, share as many people as you can. Right back to the old, if you feel this in your heart, if you feel something true here, share it with somebody you love. Simple as that. It costs no money. There's nothing for us to do but to give our gratitude and our thanks at the same time. It costs, it's the same project rules as Fire the Grid. There's no money exchanged. It's call your grandmother, call your children, call somebody you love, get together, eat food, make love, listen to music, be together, list the things in your life that are joyful to you, and say thank you. You know, so it was the same type of project. Now in the beginning, the beings talked to me about prayer versus meditation. And they said, it doesn't matter which you choose to use, what modality you choose to use to connect to your tranquility, your peace, your place, your God. That's your personal journey. But if it doesn't bring you joy, if you do it out of obligation or because it's what your grandmother told you you're supposed to do, don't do it. Only do that which brings you to the greatest place of joy. So that could be simply sitting around having tea with somebody and talking about the joys, or getting crayons out with your kids and writing or coloring pictures that are joy. What do you enjoy being with your human body? You know, when I think back to my son dying, everybody was to go into his room and talk about their greatest human joy. Now, at that point, it made no sense to me, except the fact that, oh, maybe I'm, convincing him to stay because, oh, there's so much joy to be had. But it was really powerful because joy creation and gratitude give you the most amazing ability to manifest. So imagine millions of us sitting around at the exact same time because the beings have got us set up with GMT. So when we sit down together, we're literally sitting down together, linked up by that 11. So wherever you are, 3:11 in the afternoon or 3:11 in the morning, we're linked up. We've agreed to be here together, and we literally are. Now, what do? Well, if you pray or if you meditate and those things bring you joy, absolutely do those things. But you don't have to do those things. What you want to do is get yourself in a joyful place in your mind, whatever brings you to that. Do you want to go and lay in the grass? Do you want to put your feet in the pool? Do you want to sit in the bed with your kids and color pictures? Whatever is going to bring you to that place of joy. So it's set up for an hour of our time. And again, you can meditate for the full hour if you want. You can pray for the full hour. But I really suggest you get into it. I think we should have a party. I think we should have a celebration, where we really truly engage all of our senses and then say thank you for these bodies. What an incredible gift to be given, to be here in form, once we recognize we're here in form.
Shelley, what date is this?
July 19th, 2021 at 11:11 GMT. Now, the 11:11 GMT worked really well for us last time. And we had people, I don't know if I guess they were emailing back then in that day. I don't think it was any kind of Instagram, but we had people contacting us saying, the different types of experiences they had all over the globe. And I was mentioned earlier, Princeton got involved. Well, their findings were that in all the time that they have been measuring the energy field on the planet, fire the grid was the only time the energy field shifted up and never went back down. So they found this fascinating. And I don't know if they'd be interested if they hear about this, we're going to do it again. But we are powerful, Costa.
Yeah, we are more
We,
powerful
we
than we know, and we have to keep telling each other that and reaffirming it.
Yeah.
And I want to affirm what you said about Princeton. They've had experiments there. They actually had a lab called the Pear Lab that actually doesn't exist now, but there may be people doing the same type of work all over the planet, where they are measuring the resonance field of the planet when certain events of high energy involvement globally happen. They can measure this. So it's cool that at the time of Fire of the Grid, the original one, that you had them involved in order to be able to quantify for you the fact that something did happen, so that people don't just have to believe that,
Exactly.
what was it? Well, the Princeton people had some numbers. One thing I would like to see happen, I don't know if I'm not able to do this, but someone listening to this may be able to provide a means for, after Fire the Grid 2, for people to report their contact experiences. Now, for example, in the ET Let's Talk community, we have monthly ET contact events, and we've had them for more than a decade. And lately, we've been given some technology, thank you, Zenka, wherever you are, and others, to allow people just to get online and say, write a few words, where they were, who they are, and what happened when they made an ET contact. In the same way, I think it would be cool, Shelley, if to really supercharge this, if after Fire the Grid 2 people also had that ability just to get online and just spend a few minutes and
Yeah,
write a few words about what they experienced. I think it would be amazing. Maybe
yeah,
someone could even collect it into a series or a book or whatever. The
yeah,
important thing is that when it comes from people and reporting something that happened, there's your proof. You just don't have to believe someone. But when you hear stories that result from something like this, from people you know, people you trust, and they just keep on coming, by the thousands, by the hundreds, then you know something happened. You know it was real.
yeah. Well, I met Dolores Cannon at an event, and we spent some time talking. And I was always like, why me type of thing, I don't know if other people go through it who are contactees, like why me? I'm sure it must be a question we ask each ourselves, as we try to figure out why me. But basically, she talked about the fact that a group of us actually put our hands up and agreed to come and do this job. Right.
Yeah,
And then she gave me kind of a little swat in the shoulder, and she said, "Now stop talking about it and get at it," right?
yeah. Get to work.
Yeah,
Okay,
like,
get
what are you
over it.
doing?
Work.
Yeah, so and anybody who's called to this, Costa, I remember Fire the Grid people telling me, "Oh, I'm not the kind of person who would be called to this." And I said, "Sister, me either." Like,
Yeah.
I would not be called to it. Um, all I can tell you is that first it comes down to, is this real? Can you wrap your head around it's real? And as soon as you say yes, as soon as you say, yes, I believe there's a soul or a being or a chi or a prana or whatever, there's an energy being that lives inside of me. As soon as you can wrap your head around that and say, yes, Pasta, we're going to make the changes fast, because each individual acknowledging the I am part of us. Once we combine that with a pulse, because that's what they want us to do with this grid, they want us to pulse it. They want us to pulse it with joy and then say thank you. And pulse it with joy and then say thank you. And all these straws that make up this grid, and I describe them as in the beginning, they look like frosted straws that were bent into hexagons. And there was a photon of light moving around inside the straw. But over the years and being able to see it more and more clearly in visions, it's like capillaries. We are a part of the cosmic body. It makes sense that what they're showing me is much more organic. So
Mhm.
I saw a straw bent with a light in it. But now that I'm able to look closely, it's like, wow, we're going to flood the junctures of this vessel. So when you light up your joy in your absolute proof and positivity, Costa doesn't question whether or not he believes, pulse, you really facilitate 1,000 other hexagons. And these are the fence sitters, the people that are going, well, gee, if I knew, what could I do? Horton here's a who, the poorest little who's like, what am I going to do? I'm just a little who. Well, you're going to bloody well fire the grid. And if you don't have enough juice, Costa's juice floods with you. You see, so we're not just the true believers, the people that are not questioning at all, flooding this massive grid on that day is literally like lifting the littlest who's up, like, here you go, right? So it's so important because one of us flood 1,000 hexagons. So I think somebody talked about 1% of 1%, or to make a critical mass, but I know that the people are ready to do this again because they came out in like millions to do it the first time. So
Yeah, and what I want to add is you made a reference to the hurry up nature of this, which is new, and the fact we've come out of COVID. I just had the thought as you were saying this about the potential now. people are ready for a resurgence. You know, we're not through with the pandemic. We've been through a deep, deep, dark time with it, but also a time now where we can see a resurgence in our lives and and this renewed opportunity. And that's why I think this is going to go really big, because people are ready now. Just in the same way, after they have a lockdown for a few weeks or a couple of months, and suddenly the doors open and say, okay, you can all go out now and
Yeah.
resume some kind of a normal life. That energy has been pent up, I think, during this COVID experience. And Fire the Grid 2 now is offering a doorway we can all walk through and express the joy we now have to reemerge from this deep, dark valley that we've been in, and to create something better moving forward. You know, I think the virus and the pandemic gave us the opportunity to, well, forced many of us to slow down, reset, rethink things, and analyze and go, what is it I really want moving forward? Now that I've paused a little bit to look around and figure out what's been going on. What do I like? What do I want to keep? What do I want to get rid of moving forward? I'm urging people who are watching this that Fire the Grid 2 is an opportunity born out of the suffering that many of us have had in the last 15 months or more, an opportunity to take all that and put it to use now. We've been through the crucible of fire, but put it to use and just explode with our illumination, the being that Shelley talks about, that is capable of doing this and literally creating a new world, and as fast as we can. I think that's why the urgency is there right now. Uh, the opportunity is really fresh. Let's grab it and move forward before it dissipates or we get distracted and go off to other things.
Well, you know, I am the reluctant messenger, so it's like they poke me an awful lot before I find out, okay. So, you know, it's time. Again, we're at a project with no investment. There's no investment for anybody except to find your time. If it's early in the morning, crawl in your bed together, snuggle, you know, be love, be what you want, you know, be the change, be what you want. There's no pretense. There's just your joy. If that's, you know, drinking coffee in your bed, then that's your joy. Because what's happening as we shift into this new world is that they don't want us to come Borg style. It's not some collective where we are all becoming one type of thing. It's our individuality, Costa, that makes us so precious. It's our ability to think and reason and question that makes these suits so valuable. It is our beingness that they love so much.
Well, we were given free will as part of being humans, and this is the opportunity to exercise this free will in such a powerful, positive, coordinated, massive effort. That power of goodwill and love could literally change a planet overnight.
Overnight.
And as people are listening here, I just want to summarize just for a minute. Fire the Grid 2, July 19th, 11:11 a.m.
GMT.
What's that? GMT.
GMT.
Yeah. And there are places on the internet where you can convert to local time. I think one of them is time and date, like one word, .com, is a place where you can put 11:11 a.m. GMT and convert it to your time zone. And what's being asked is an hour of your time to be in joy and gratitude with the highest that's in you, the highest that brings you that joy. Everybody can do this. Everybody can do this. It's just a matter of your time. And I think the rewards coming out the other end will be so much more out of proportion than what you can even imagine for the hour that you invested, that you expended.
Yeah. I think Celia was just trying to tell you that we have time and world clock up. Where is it, Celia?
Yes, it's at www.firethegrid2.org. Yes. So the time conversion is there. You can click on a link and see what time it would be in your area, and there's a countdown timer too.
That's excellent. You've already thought of all this. That's wonderful.
And ultimately, Costa, what they've called this is a vote.
Hmm.
They have said that this is a vote. You know, it's I know it's been rushed. I know it was supposed to be at a different time, but it's now, and that's it. So it's like this machine can spread things overnight. Well, then we'll spread it. But they've said it's a vote. So it's about, you know, casting your vote for it. How high can we get this field as our start off? You know, I didn't talk a lot about those things, but I'm trying to do with Celia is get little bits of video and stuff, because ultimately we want to be up over 857 hertz. We want to get up over that hurdle, and we want to have it. We want our ride into this new cosmic experience to be as smooth as possible. And this vote, this yes, I'm here. Yes, I matter. Yes, I count. Yes, I want to change. Yes, I want things to be better. Yes, I'm freaking ready. Let's go now. Yes.
Okay. I think
Okay.
if I were in advertising, you just gave us the slogan, you know, I say yes
I
to
say
the new
yes.
world.
Yes, to a new
To the new
world.
earth, to the golden age.
And stop defining what it looks like. You know how people are now, oh, well, you're talking about it wrong, or you're talking about it wrong, or you know, we'll end up in the same divided little boxes of religion if we do that to each other. Just dream it into being. Bring your joy with you. What do you love about being a people? That's what people are. People. So we're bringing our people joys with us. You know, whatever's next, it's got to be better than what's happening.
Yeah, and there's
Right?
another tagline. Yeah, whatever's next got to be better than what's happening. But
Right. So if we
especially
continue,
because someone has said that this is not original. The best way to predict the future is to create it, right?
perfect.
That's
Yes.
what you're saying. Is in that hour you're asking people to, through their joy, raise.
Bring your joy with you. Bring it
Yeah,
with you. Like
yeah.
talk about it, create it, dream it into being. The shamans all talk about we're dreaming in the next world into being. So let's make it high frequency. Darkness cannot live where light
Right.
is. So if we don't talk about darkness, if we stop dwelling on darkness, if we say, be gone, I let you go, right? And now we go, wow, look at all this light over here. What can we do with it? Oh, well, I want ice creams and kittens and puppies, and I want fast cars because my son always wants fast cars, you know, so dream it into being. Bring the best of what we already have into the next
Yeah.
game board. You know, bring the best with us, and then we're starting as high as humanly possible.
Okay.
And the darkness cannot live where the light is like that. So.
And that's where I want to leave on that note right there, because that's beautiful. The darkness cannot live where the light is, and we are that light.
Right.
It will not live where we are because we decree that.
Right.
Again, that's July 19th, 11:11 a.m. GMT, and there is a link here that Celia's provided. Thank you, Celia, for people to convert to their time zone. I urge again everyone to please spend that hour, spread this information far and wide. And again, Shelley, what's the website?
Oh, it's firethegrid2.org.
firethegrid2.org. Please go visit and share it with everyone you know. I want to thank Shelley here for her time, and for Celia for setting all of this up. It's been wonderful to hear the story again, and also to realize we're creating the next story, you know,
yes.
all of us collectively now, and that's a really wonderful thing. So thanks everyone for listening to this. Please pay it forward. Bye-bye. Are you ready to talk with our ET friends? If you are, then join the People's Disclosure Movement. This movement is the world's largest, most widespread, regular, and coordinated two-way communication between us humans and the star people. Join us at etletstalk.com. Membership is free.